The wind howled like a betrayed lover as Maya tumbled out the front door, the icy slap of the blizzard stealing her breath before she could even scream. Her father's voice echoed behind her, raw and unyielding, "You're no daughter of mine, not after this filth." The door slammed shut with a finality that cracked something deep inside her, leaving her alone in the white void, the family home's lights blurring into halos through the thickening snow. She'd known this storm was coming, not the one outside, but the one that had been brewing in her chest for years. Maya Ruiz, 22, and fresh out of community college in Barcelona, had returned to her family's finca in the foothills of the Pyrenees for what was supposed to be a quiet Christmas. The olive groves that usually whispered secrets in the summer breeze now stood skeletal and unforgiving, dusted in a rare, punishing snow that had blanketed western Spain like a shroud. Her parents' farm, passed down through generations of devout Catholics, was a place of hard work and harder silences. Maya had always been the good girl, top of her class, helping with the harvest, dreaming of a life beyond the mountains. But dreams have a way of unraveling. It started with a letter. Tucked into her suitcase from her last semester, it was from Elodie, the French exchange student she'd met in a cramped lecture hall 6 months earlier. Elodie's words were simple, scrawled in looping cursive, "Maya, that night on the beach, your laugh in the moonlight. I can't stop thinking about it. Come back to me." The beach. That stolen evening in Sitges, where the waves had crashed like applause for their first kiss. Salty lips, tentative hands, the world narrowing to just the two of them under a canopy of stars. Maya had folded the letter away, heart pounding, telling herself it was a phase, a college fling. But every night since, Elodie's face haunted her dreams, those warm brown eyes, the freckles like constellations across her nose, the way she hummed old Edith Piaf songs while sketching in her notebook. Now, standing in the snow, Maya pressed the letter against her chest like a talisman. Her gloves were inside, her boots, too thin for this freak winter gale that meteorologists were calling La Tormenta Olvidada. She pounded on the door one last time. "Papa. Mama, please, it's freezing." Footsteps shuffled inside, but no one came. Through the frosted window, she caught a glimpse of her mother, Rosa, clutching her rosary, eyes squeezed shut in prayer. And her brother, Javier, 25 and already married with a baby on the way, his jaw set like stone as he barred the way. It had all unraveled that afternoon. Maya had slipped out to the village market for eggs, her secret phone buzzing with a text from Elodie, "Miss you. Sending a train ticket, come to Madrid. We can figure this out together." Heart racing, Maya had replied yes before she could think. But Javier had seen her smiling at the screen, had snatched it from her hand in the kitchen later, his face twisting as he read the messages. "Elodie. That pute from France. What the hell is this, Maya?" The argument exploded like dry tinder. Her father, Tomas, a widower since Rosa's nerves had confined her to bed for years, had grabbed the phone and scrolled through the photos, the innocent ones, at least. Maya and Elodie at a cafe, arms linked, a selfie with their foreheads touching, snowflakes in their hair from a weekend trip to the Alps. Abomination, Tomas spat, his voice a thunderclap. Rosa had whimpered from the hallway, crossing herself. Javier, ever the enforcer, had nodded along, his loyalty to family tradition a blade sharper than any knife. "You're leaving tonight," Tomas had declared, packing her bag himself, clothes, a few books, that damn letter spilling out like evidence at a trial. "We can't have this shame under our roof. The priest says it's a sin that spreads like plague." Maya had begged, then raged, but they were immovable. The Ruiz name was everything in their tight-knit village of Ainsa, where whispers traveled faster than the wind. Neighbors already eyed them sideways after Tomas's failed mayoral bid, this would bury them. Now, as the snow piled at her ankles, Maya stumbled toward the old stone wall that marked the property line. The road to town was 3 kilometers, impossible in this whiteout. Her phone was dead, confiscated. She thought of Elodie, safe in her aunt's apartment in Huesca, oblivious to the apocalypse unfolding. "Hold on," Maya whispered to the storm, her teeth chattering. "I'm coming." But the cold had other plans. Her legs buckled after 100 meters, the world tilting into a swirl of white. She collapsed against a gnarled olive tree, its bark rough under her numb fingers. Memories flooded in, childhood Christmases with Mama's polverones, Papa's rare stories of his youth in Madrid before the farm claimed him. And Elodie, God, Elodie. That first meeting in class, when the professor had paired them for a project on Picasso's Blue Period. Elodie's laugh, light as chamomile tea, cutting through Maya's shyness. Late nights debating art over cheap vino tinto, their knees brushing under the table until one night, emboldened by the wine, Maya had leaned in. "I like you," she'd blurted, and Elodie had smiled, soft and sure. "I like you too. More than like." Their world had bloomed from there, stolen weekends, whispered promises. Elodie, with her dreams of opening a gallery in Paris, had made Maya believe she could escape the finca's gravity. "We're artists of our own lives," Elodie would say, tracing patterns on Maya's palm. A distant rumble pulled Maya back, the village bus, late and lumbering through the gale. She forced herself up, waving frantically as it crested the hill. The driver, old Senor Vargas with his pipe and perpetual squint, braked with a hiss. "Ruiz? What in God's name are you doing out here? Get in, Nina." The bus was empty save for a bundled crone in the back, muttering prayers. Maya collapsed into a seat, dripping snow like tears. "Family trouble," she gasped, and Vargas nodded, wise to the village's undercurrents. "Heard whispers. Your papa's pride is a mountain, eh? Huesca Station, that's where you're headed." She nodded, staring out at the blizzard's maw. Huesca was an hour away, Elodie closer with every mile. But as the bus groaned onward, doubt gnawed. What if Elodie saw her now, broken, frozen, a runaway with nothing but a backpack? What if love wasn't enough against the Ruiz legacy? By the time they reached Huesca, the storm had eased to a spiteful sleet. The station was a ghost town, fluorescent lights buzzing over empty benches. Maya borrowed Vargas's phone to call Elodie, her voice cracking as it connected. "Maya. Where are you? The trains are cancelled." "I'm here. At the station. I left home. They found out. About us." Silence, then Elodie's voice, fierce and tender, "Stay put. I'm coming. Don't move." 20 minutes later, Elodie's battered Renault sputtered into the lot, headlights cutting the dark like a lifeline. She burst from the car, beanie askew, and pulled Maya into an embrace that smelled of lavender and home. "Oh, mi amor," Elodie murmured, her French accent thickening with emotion. "What have they done?" They drove in silence to Elodie's aunt's flat, a cozy third-floor walk-up overlooking the town's medieval walls. Tante Claire, a retired teacher with a no-nonsense bob and a heart of gold, took one look at Maya's frostbitten cheeks and bustled her into a hot bath, clucking about foolish Spanish winters. Over chamomile tea, Maya spilled it all, the confrontation, the exile. Elodie listened, her hand never leaving Maya's, brown eyes stormy with rage. "This isn't over," Elodie said finally, as they curled up in the guest room's narrow bed. "Your family, they think they can erase you. We'll fight. But first, rest. You're safe now." Maya wanted to believe her. In Elodie's arms, the world felt reclaimable. But as sleep claimed her, a shadow lingered, Javier's parting words, hissed through the door. "You think you're free? We'll make sure the whole world knows what a disgrace you are." The next morning dawned brittle and bright, the sun mocking the night's fury with diamonds on the snow. Maya woke to the scent of fresh pan con tomate wafting from the kitchen, Elodie's quiet humming a balm against the ache in her bones. Tante Claire had left for her yoga class, leaving notes in precise handwriting: "Eat. Breathe. Call if you need me." Maya smiled faintly. Claire was the kind of woman who'd smuggled art books past Franco's censors in her youth, a quiet rebel who saw no sin in love's many colors. Elodie slid back into bed, balancing plates on her lap. "Fuel for the revolution," she teased, kissing Maya's temple. At 22, Elodie Laurent was a whirlwind of contrasts, Parisian elegance in her scarves and boots, but grounded by her love of Spain's rugged north, where her mother had traced her Basque roots. Her blonde waves framed a face that could shift from impish grin to fierce protectiveness in a heartbeat. "We can't stay holed up forever. What's the plan, Ruiz?" Maya poked at her toast, the weight of exile settling like lead. "I don't know. Papa cut me off, no money, no job lined up. And the village. They'll talk. Always do." She thought of the market ladies, their tongues sharp as switchblades, weaving tales of the cursed Ruiz girl. Worse, Tomas's connections ran deep. He'd been on the town council once, friends with the Guardia Civil captain. Elodie set her plate aside, pulling Maya close. "Then we build our own life. My gallery internship in Zaragoza starts in January, room for 2, if you're game. We'll paint the town, literally." Her fingers traced Maya's jaw, a spark igniting despite the chill. But Maya's laugh was hollow. "And when they come for me? Javier's already probably telling everyone I'm a thief or something. To save face." As if summoned, Maya's borrowed phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "Come home, Hermana. Papa's had a heart scare. Blame the shock. Fix this." It was Javier, his words laced with manipulation. Maya's stomach twisted. Tomas, with his high blood pressure and stubborn refusal of meds, could it be true? "I have to go back," she whispered. Elodie stiffened. "No. It's a trap. They want you groveling, pretending none of this happened." But guilt clawed at Maya. By noon, they were driving back to Ainsa, Elodie's grip white-knuckled on the wheel. The finca loomed like a judge as they pulled up, smoke curling from the chimney in false welcome. Tomas answered the door, his face ashen, an arm in a sling from what he claimed was a fall in the snow. Rosa hovered behind, eyes red-rimmed, a plate of her famous tortilla trembling in her hands. "Daughter," Tomas rasped, pulling her into a hug that smelled of pipe tobacco and regret. "We spoke in haste. The devil whispered lies." Maya searched his eyes for truth, finding only the familiar steel. Javier lounged in the living room, bouncing his niece on his knee, his smile too wide. "Good to see you, Maya." "Elodie, was it? The friend who helped?" Elodie's jaw tightened, but she nodded curtly. Over lunch, the air thickened with unspoken accusations. Tomas spun tales of his attack, blaming the stress of family discord. Rosa nodded mutely, her rosary beads clicking like a metronome. Maya played along, forcing smiles, but Elodie's foot pressed against hers under the table, a silent anchor. That night, as they prepared to leave, Javier pulled Maya aside in the hall. "Papa's weak, but he's not blind. That girl, she's poison. If you want back in, cut her loose. Or else." His eyes gleamed with something darker than brotherly concern. Maya yanked away, heart pounding. "You're the poison, Javi. Always have been." The drive back to Huesca was silent fury. "See? Trap," Elodie said, swiping at tears. Maya nodded, but the seed of doubt had taken root. Days blurred into a fragile routine, morning sketching with Elodie in Claire's sunlit studio, afternoons job hunting in town, waitressing gigs, anything to scrape by. Elodie landed a side hustle teaching French to tourists, her optimism a lifeline. "Remember our beach promise?" she'd say, nuzzling Maya's neck. "Stars for witnesses. No one can take that." But the village's shadow lengthened. Whispers reached Huesca. Maya had stolen family heirlooms, run off with a foreign temptress. Then came the call from the Guardia. Javier had filed a report. Missing silver from the finca, he claimed, last seen in Maya's bag. A search warrant. "It's lies." Maya cried, but the officers were polite, thorough, hauling her backpack to the station for inventory. Elodie paced the flat as Maya waited for questioning. "Captain Ruiz, no relation, thank God, eyed her with weary sympathy. Family matters are hell, señorita. But evidence is evidence. They found nothing, of course, but the humiliation burned. Released with a warning, Maya stumbled into Elodie's arms outside. They'll stop at nothing, she sobbed. Javi, he's framing me to drag me back. Elodie's resolve hardened. Then we expose him. I've got a friend, a journalist in Zaragoza. We document everything. They spent nights compiling texts, voicemails, even a hidden recording Maya had made of Javier's threats. But as Christmas Eve approached, the storm returned, not snow, but emotional tempests. Maya dreamed of the finca ablaze, Tomas's face melting in accusation. Waking in sweats, she'd cling to Elodie, whispering, "What if I'm not worth the fight?" "You are," Elodie would murmur, her voice a vow. "We're rewriting the story." New Year's brought a fragile hope. A gallery in Huesca offered Maya a part-time framing job, Elodie's sketches selling to locals. They celebrated with Claire's cava and a midnight kiss under fireworks that painted the sky in defiant colors. For a moment, the world felt theirs. But betrayal brewed. Javier, sensing his grip slipping, escalated. He reached out to Elodie's family in France, old-money Catholics who disowned her mother for marrying a godless artist. Poisonous emails, doctored photos implying scandal. Elodie's phone lit up with calls from her aunt in Paris. "Come home, Sherry. This Spanish girl, she's trouble. Influencing you poorly." Elodie shattered a glass against the wall, her face crumpling. "They don't know me. But your family started this." Maya recoiled, the words a slap. "I'm fighting them, Elodie. Every day." The argument raged, old insecurities surfacing. Maya's fear of abandonment clashing with Elodie's terror of isolation. "If you leave," Maya choked, "take my heart with you, it's already half gone." Elodie softened, pulling her close. "Never. But we end this, Maya. Before it ends us." January's thaw was a cruel tease, melting snow into mud that sucked at their boots as Maya and Elodie trudged to the Zaragoza train station. The journalist, Sophia, a sharp-eyed woman in her 30s with tattoos peeking from her collar, met them at a corner cafe, steam rising from her espresso like unspoken fury. "I've seen this before," Sophia said, scanning their files. "Small-town machismo, wrapped in piety. Your brother's report. Sloppy, but it'll stick unless we push back." They laid it out, the fabricated theft, the heart scare that doctors later confirmed was stress-induced hype, Javier's history of bullying Maya over her bookish ways. Sophia's eyes lit as she uncovered a gem, Javier's side hustle fencing farm equipment online, a petty crime that could unravel his credibility. "Leverage," she grinned. "We pitch this to El País. National stage, your story becomes every queer kid's anthem." Maya's pulse raced. Exposure meant no return to the finca, but also freedom's sharp edge. Elodie squeezed her hand under the table, her freckles standing out against flushed cheeks. "We're ready," she said, voice steady for them both. Back in Huesca, momentum built. Sophia's article dropped mid-month, "Exiled for Love, a Pyrenees daughter's fight against familial betrayal." It painted Maya as the hero, resilient, artistic, unbowed, while exposing Javier's manipulations without naming him outright. The village erupted, calls flooded the finca, reporters sniffing at Tomas's door. Rosa left voicemails, tearful pleas, "Hija, come talk. Your father's broken." Tomas, cornered, drove to Huesca unannounced. He arrived at dusk, his truck idling like a beast in the alley below Claire's flat. Maya spotted him from the window, his silhouette hunched against the cold. "Go down," Elodie urged. "End it on your terms." The confrontation unfolded on the stoop, street lamps casting long shadows. Tomas's eyes, once so commanding, now hollowed by defeat. "You've shamed us, Maya. But the priest says forgiveness is divine." It was the closest he'd come to apology, wrapped in conditional grace. Come home. Leave the girl. Start fresh. Maya's laugh was bitter, snowflakes melting on her lashes. Fresh. Like erasing who I am. Elodie's not the girl, she's my future. You taught me duty, Papa. This is mine. Tomas recoiled as if struck, then thrust a check into her hand, 5,000 euros, blood money from the farm savings. Take it. Or rot in your choices. She tore it in half, the pieces fluttering like confetti in the wind. I choose me. He drove off without a word, taillights fading into the night. Elation warred with grief as Maya climbed the stairs. Elodie waited with wine and warmth, but the victory soured overnight. Javier, enraged by the article, struck back viciously. He accused Maya of elder abuse, claiming her lifestyle shock had caused Tomas's ailment, even forging medical notes. The guardia knocked again, this time with handcuffs. False report or not, the officer muttered, we investigate. The station was a blur of fluorescent hell, fingerprints, mugshots, Elodie's frantic calls to Sophia. Bail was set low, Claire's doing, calling in favors from old activist friends, but the stain lingered. Reporters swarmed, twisting Maya's pain into headlines, lesbian exile turns criminal. Online trolls spewed vitriol, doxing Elodie's internship, forcing her to quit amid whispers. Their sanctuary cracked. Elodie withdrew, sketching furiously in silence, her once bright eyes shadowed. I can't breathe here, she confessed one night, as rain lashed the windows. Your family's poison, it's in the air. Maya, raw from a court date where Javier testified with crocodile tears, snapped. Then go. Run back to Paris, where it's easy. The words hung, a guillotine. Elodie packed a bag by morning, her voice hollow. I love you, Maya. But love shouldn't cage us. She left the key on the table, a sketch of them on the beach tucked beneath, a farewell etched in charcoal tears. Alone, Maya unraveled. Days bled into weeks, court hearings where Tomas avoided her gaze, Javier's smug victory as charges stuck on a technicality, probation, community service. The gallery job vanished, whispers followed her everywhere. She crashed on Claire's couch, sketching her own despair, jagged lines of family portraits, Elodie's face a ghost in every frame. Spring crept in, wildflowers pushing through the mud like defiant hopes. Sophia's follow-up piece shifted tides, interviews with queer youth in the Pyrenees, Maya's voice amplified. Betrayal isn't just from family, she told the camera, voice steady for the first time. It's choosing silence over truth. Views exploded, support poured in, letters, donations, even a scholarship for art school in Madrid. But the void Elodie left was a blizzard of its own. Maya traced their old haunts, the beach in Sitges, now blooming with tourists, the cafe in Huesca where they'd shared their first coffee. One evening, scrolling old texts, she found a voicemail from months back, Elodie's voice, laughing, we're unstoppable, mi artista. Promise me we'll always chase the stars. Tears fell, but so did resolve. Maya enrolled in online classes, her sketches evolving from pain to power, portraits of exiled lovers, resilient faces against stormy skies. Claire became family, her quiet wisdom a steady flame. And Tomas. A letter arrived, unsigned but in his script, I see now. Forgive an old fool. No apology for Javier, who slunk away after his own scandal surfaced, but it was a crack in the wall. Summer solstice brought heat and healing. Maya stood on a Huesca rooftop, easel open to the sunset, when her phone buzzed, a French number. Heart in throat, she answered. Maya. It's me. I was wrong to run. Can we talk? Elodie's voice, tentative as spring rain. Maya closed her eyes, the stars emerging like old friends. Yes. But this time, we faced the storm together. They met at the beach, the same one in Siges where it all began, the Mediterranean a sapphire mirror under July's relentless sun. Maya arrived first, barefoot in the sand, her dark hair loose and salted by the sea breeze. At 23 now, she'd grown into her edges, sharper cheekbones from skipped meals, but eyes brighter, forged in fire. Her sketchbook dangled from one hand, pages filled with a summer's rebirth, vibrant hues of lovers entwined not in passion, but partnership. Elodie emerged from the dunes like a vision, her blonde waves sun-bleached, a simple sundress fluttering around freckled knees. She'd cut her hair shorter, a pixie that framed her face with bold vulnerability. Paris had been a detour, not a destination. She'd poured her grief into a solo exhibit there, raw pieces titled Echoes of Exile, that critics called a lesbian lament for the modern age. But the acclaim rang hollow without Maya. They stood apart at first, waves lapping at their ankles, the air thick with unsaid apologies. "You came," Maya breathed, and Elodie nodded, tears carving tracks through sunscreen. "I never stopped loving you." Running was fear, not farewell. She stepped closer, hands outstretched. "Forgive me." Maya closed the distance, their embrace a dam breaking, salt and skin, heartbeats sinking like a forgotten melody. "We're both scarred," she murmured. "But scars tell stories. Ours is one of survival." They walked the shore as dusk painted the sky in pinks and golds, words tumbling like pebbles. Elodie spoke of Paris's isolation, the family pressures that echoed the Ruizes, expectations of marriage, legacy, normalcy. "I saw you in every canvas," she said. "Your strength. It pulled me back." Maya shared the courtroom battles, Javier's downfall, a quiet arrest for fraud, the finca's sold to pay debts, Tomas's halting reconciliation over coffee in Huesca, awkward admissions of regret, a shared silence over Rosa's old sketchbook, filled with drawings of village girls that hinted at her own buried truths. "I've started therapy," Maya confessed, toes digging into cool sand. "Papa too, in secret. It's messy, but real." Elodie smiled, linking arms. "Human. Like us." Night fell with fireflies and a blanket borrowed from a nearby vendor. They lay side by side, tracing constellations, Elodie's fingers on Maya's palm, reigniting old promises. "No more running," Elodie whispered. "We build from here. My exhibit tours to Madrid, come with. We'll crash on friends' couches, paint the nights away." Maya turned, their faces inches apart, breaths mingling. "And the storms. When they come." Elodie kissed her forehead, soft as starlight. "We dance in them. Together." The months that followed were a tapestry of tentative triumphs. In Madrid, they shared a tiny piso overlooking the Retiro Park, walls papered in their joint artworks, canvases of Pyrenees peaks pierced by rainbows, portraits of hands clasped against gales. Maya landed a grant for a queer art collective, channeling her pain into workshops for rural youth. Your story isn't shame, it's spark. Elodie curated shows blending French Impressionism with Spanish Surrealism, her voice gaining confidence in panels, advocating for love's borderless brushstrokes. Family threads mended unevenly. Tomas visited once, bearing olives from a new grove he'd planted, for fresh starts, and lingered to watch Maya paint, his silence approving. Rosa, frail but freer, sent letters with pressed wildflowers, her words blooming, "I see you, Hija. As you are." Javier faded into irrelevance, a cautionary tale whispered in Ainsa bars. Challenges lingered, of course, the world's not kind to dreamers. Bigots trolled their online profiles, a gallery pulled a show after backlash. But in each other, they found ballast. One autumn eve, as leaves swirled in Retiro's winds, Elodie knelt with a ring, not diamond, but a woven band of olive wood and sea glass. "Marry me, Maya Ruiz. Not for papers or priests, but for us." Tears fell, joyful this time. "Yes. 1,000 times." Their wedding was a quiet affair the next spring, on that Siges beach at dawn. Witnesses, Claire with her vintage camera, Sophia toasting with kava, a handful of artist friends strumming guitars. Vows exchanged in English, French, Spanish, promises of weathering blizzards, literal and not. Tomas attended, standing at the tide's edge, his nod a benediction. No speeches, just the sea's roar and their laughter, sealing love against the horizon. Years wove onward. At 28, Maya unveiled her first solo exhibit in Barcelona, Blizzard Hearts, a series of resilient figures emerging from white voids, colors bursting like defiant blooms. Elodie, ever her muse, hung beside her, their daughter, adopted from a foster program in the Pyrenees, toddling at their feet, dark curls and brown eyes a perfect blend. One night, as snow dusted Madrid's rooftops, a rare echo of that fateful storm, Maya pulled Elodie to the balcony. Their girls slept inside, fairy lights twinkling. "We made it," Maya whispered, forehead to forehead. "From exile to this." Elodie smiled, that old spark igniting. "And every storm made us stronger. Here's to the next one, together." In the quiet, with the world hushed under winter's hush, they kissed. Not as survivors, but as victors. Love, after all, isn't the absence of betrayal or blizzard's bite, it's the choice to thaw, to bloom, to hold on when the wind screams otherwise. And in the heart of Spain's wild west, two women had rewritten the stars.